Taiwan, I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's weather authorities have issued a sea warning for Typhoon Kong-Rey, which is increasing in speed and intensity as it approaches Taiwan. Kong-Rey is expected to move northwest closer towards the country over the next few days, making landfall near Taitung on the southeast coast on late Thursday or early Friday. It will be the third typhoon to hit Taiwan this summer. As Rick Liao now reports, the typhoon is arriving late in the season and comes after two big storms already battered Taiwan this summer.
Residents in Taipei are stocking up as Typhoon Kong-Rey inches towards Taiwan, bearing winds of 150 kilometers per hour.
大概会买豆类的，因为可以放比较久。叶菜类的，就是比较会少买一点。
先准备吗？
应该吧。
应该。
总该。
在准备了吗？
对，应该这些比较耐用的。
Local produce will be scarce and expensive if Kong-Rey hits as predicted in just a couple of days. The country's farms are still recovering from two typhoons in the last few months. Residents of East Coast cities in the storm's path, like Hualien, have been warned of danger to property and life due to strong winds and torrential rain. The popular tourist destination is struggling to return to normalcy after being struck by a 7.2 magnitude quake in April. Now, it has had to postpone concerts organised to boost visitor numbers.
有收到一些我们的旅宿业者告诉我说，其实有人在做退房的。遇到这样的一个天然的这种台风，我们老实说，我们真的是束手无策。
Many people along this coast had assumed Taiwan's typhoon season was over. It's rare for a storm this size to hit this late in the year.
就搭病要出工咧，风台就搁要来啊，就赶紧搁未啊。50-60年都阿捌这寒天时咧做风台啊，我嘛是头一遍咧拄着。
2024 has already proved to be the most devastating typhoon season in Taiwan for years. At least 14 people were killed, and damages to property and infrastructure were in the hundreds of millions of US dollars. Still quite a distance from Taiwan, Kong-Rey's exact path and impact are hard to predict. But many here are hoping that this late arrival will not bring any other surprises. Eason Chen and Rick Liao for TaiwanPlus.
To learn more about how Taiwan's agricultural sector holds out in the face of typhoons and other natural disasters, Alec McDonald spoke to Professor Mujahid Bayrak from National Taiwan Normal University's Department of Geography.
How have farmers throughout Taiwan's history adapted to sudden typhoons or extreme weather scenarios?
We have to understand that farming and agriculture in its very essence is about adapting. So the thing about challenging environmental challenges or weather challenges or weather variability or climate variability and adapting to that is very much an essence of agriculture, in essence of farming. So we should be a bit careful in saying that in the past farmers were very much able to adapt, and nowadays farmers see these environmental challenges as something that makes farming untenable in that sense. With that being said, when we look at the past, certain typhoon seasons or certain, climatic seasons were kind of more predictable. So when farmers would be having the harvest season or when they would grow certain crops, they were perhaps more in sync with the way how weather was changing, how the climate was changing, and they could anticipate based on that, using their local and traditional ecological knowledge systems.
Looking forward to the future, which trends or practices might farmers adapt to as climate change becomes a larger problem and there are additional sudden typhoons or years where there are no typhoons?
So we have to be very critical to say, well, what's the impact of climate change and what is it actually that farmers adapt to? With that being said, the research that we have done clearly shows that farmers experience changing weather conditions. The rainy season usually is, at least what I have learned from my research, is that it's often shorter in time, but more intense. Typhoons, they become more unpredictable. And while climate change might not necessarily cause more typhoons to happen, typhoons are expected to become more intense. So in that sense, we need to figure out, as a society, as a government, is how can we minimize the negative impacts of climate change that we can prevent. And in many ways, I would say that you should cooperate more with farmers, because they are definitely able to understand what's going on in terms of changing climatic conditions.
So with cooperating with farmers in mind, what then are some policies or practices that we can implement right now to add additional agricultural resiliency?
Listen more to farmers. Yeah? So see what issues that they are facing. A lot of places we visited, you could see farmers had like land tenure issues. What we also see a lot of indigenous people do more and more is planting more indigenous crops, indigenous varieties of rice and millet. And we should try to encourage that, in a sense that it's not only cultural heritage of farmers that we talk about, but a lot of indigenous practices, indigenous crops are also better suited to changing climatic conditions. There's not that I would say that indigenous knowledge will solve climate change, but I think we need to pay more attention to that.
That was National Taiwan Normal University Professor Mujahid Bayrak discussing Taiwan's agricultural resiliency. Taiwan's Army has entered its second day of week-long drills on the West Coast. Over 4,000 troops and 100 tanks, armored vehicles, and artillery are being used in the Chang No. 19 exercise. The 24-hour non-stop drills are meant to train troops in decentralized command, decision-making, and nighttime combat. It will also be the first exercise to incorporate reserve soldiers undergoing mobilization training. Taiwan is one step closer to securing 1,000 attack drones from the U.S. Bloomberg reported that Taiwan's defense ministry had signed a deal with the U.S. government in September, and that detailed contracts were in the works with 2 U.S. defense companies. Taiwan has been trying to incorporate drones into its asymmetric warfare strategy against China, which has been stepping up threats to take the country by force. Reuters has reported that China asked the U.S. to change the wording it uses to describe its position on Taiwan's independence. The U.S. government currently says it does not support independence for Taiwan. But during a meeting last year, Chinese President Xi Jinping reportedly asked U.S. President Joe Biden to use language actively opposing it. Official sources say the Biden administration rejected the request. China has increased diplomatic, economic, and military pressure on Taiwan in recent years. With just 1 week to go before the U.S. presidential elections, candidates are fighting to win swing voters. But racist comments made by a comedian at a Trump rally are now taking over the discussion. Tiffany Wong has more.
The final stretch. With just 1 week left before voters take to the polls, the U.S. presidential candidates are ramping up their campaigns, trying to grab as many voters in battleground states as possible. Now their campaigns have turned to a key demographic, Latino voters, a large voting bloc with a historically low turnout rate. But now many are torn after comments by a comedian at a Trump rally.
There's a lot going on. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
In a major Puerto Rican community in the key swing state of Pennsylvania, where Trump plans to hold a rally, his comments caused confusion among voters.
I can tell that people are not talking a lot about politics on the streets, and but they're not very happy about Donald Trump. That's one thing I can say. The few things that I have heard, that's what has to do with most of the time, the discontent.
The comments also gained the attention of the Archbishop of San Juan de Puerto Rico, who called on Trump to personally apologize. Although Trump has not commented publicly on the matter, his running mate J.D. Vance was quick to pass it off as a joke.
And my own view on this is, look, again, I haven't seen the joke. Maybe it's a stupid racist joke, as you said. Maybe it's not. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to comment on the specifics of the joke. But I think that we have to stop getting so offended at every little thing in the United States of America. I'm so over it.
Democratic candidate Kamala Harris condemned Trump for sowing divides with those comments, but she refrained from directly addressing the issue at her latest rally in Michigan.
And listen, you all have heard me say, I do believe Donald Trump to be an unserious man. But the consequences of him ever being president again are brutally serious. Brutally serious.
Now, with just 7 days left, and with both candidates trying to sweep up any undecided voters, they'll have to choose their words carefully as people make their final choice. Klein Wang and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Premier Zhou Rongtai says he disagrees with former U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated claims that Taiwan stole the U.S.'s chip industry.
当然不同意，这是我们自己发展出来一个非常领先世界的产业。
That came during a heated exchange with opposition Kuomintang lawmaker Wang Hongwei. Wang said she is concerned Trump's claims could spread and cause harm to those involved in Taiwan's chip sector. The premier said the government will continue watching the U.S. election, but that he's confident Taiwan-U.S. ties will continue to grow. Taiwanese computer maker Asus has debuted its new line of mini PCs with a focus on artificial intelligence 1 year after taking over the product line from U.S. chipmaker Intel. As Chris Gordon reports, these small computers point to big changes in the tech industry.
Taiwanese computer maker Asus has just debuted its newest line of mini PCs known as NUC or NUCs, which stands for the next unit of computing. But they didn't always make them. Until last year, they were produced by U.S. company Intel, known primarily for its chip-making business. But now, these mini PCs have become a growth engine for their Taiwanese partner.
We believe the mini PC form factor will be the major, I would say, the main form factors in the future IoT space and also in the commercial space. I think it gives us some big opportunity to grow. The first thing is because of the AI.
And like much of the modern tech economy, for computer makers, AI is big business. This formerly American-made product line is part of a trend to try and bring AI functionality to everyday devices. And it's a trend that's only expected to grow. In fact, it's expected that within 4 years, 70% of all new PCs will have AI functionality right on the device, with less need for cloud-based AI services. And industry insiders say that can be important when protecting your data is key.
You have healthcare applications, you have industrial applications for security, surveillance, monitoring, and most of these applications, they are very data sensitive. You would rather not send data to the cloud. Having an advanced AI capable hardware sitting right next to you, which is capable of doing all the AI processing, is going to be a game changer.
Asus's success with the NUC line stands in contrast to its former producer, Intel. The Arizona-based company has struggled in the past several years to keep pace with its competitors, and investors have noticed. Intel stock has fallen by more than 60% in the last year, reaching its lowest price in a decade, at one point dropping 26% in a single day. Licensing its NUC product line is just one of several drastic moves Intel has made to shore up its profitability and focus more directly on designing and making chips, as it seeks to compete with rivals like TSMC and AMD. It's cutting its staff and has split its chip-making foundry business into a separate subsidiary. It's even been the target of buyout offers from other hardware companies and private equity firms. The focus on a chips-first strategy may represent U.S. national priorities as well.
And we all understand that Taiwan is a geopolitical strategic partner of US. So companies like Intel, they are okay with having Taiwanese companies acquire their businesses as long as these businesses do not interfere with their capabilities of defense and space applications.
With the premiere of this new series, these mini AI PCs show how big changes in the worlds of technology and geopolitics can all fit inside a very small package. Chris Ma and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out this giant Tetris game in London put on to celebrate the game's 40th anniversary. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.